Are you and your partner trying to split the household chores right down the middle, 50-50, but somehow you both feel completely exhausted and overwhelmed? It's not just in your head. That's a mathematical reality. In the relational audit, we measure gross labor output. That's the total energy spent managing all of those essential tasks in your home. If a single person lives alone, they spend exactly 100% of the baseline labor cost. If that one person decides that they're, no longer cleaning the bathrooms, that means that they'll be outputting less than 100% of that labor cost. But what happens when a couple divides up all of those chores and tries to tackle them together? You might think that the gross labor output would still be 100%, and that each of you would begin spending closer to 50% of your individual labor cost. But that isn't even close to being true. And this is where it gets really interesting. When a couple tries to share chores perfectly, their combined volume actually goes up. The chores don't change, there's not more work to do, but the combined volume of output to complete those tasks increases. And that's because of something I call the coordination tax. You're paying an unavoidable energy cost to negotiate standards, to delegate tasks, and to manage another person's timeline or schedule. So jointly, you can expect to work 25% harder than you would be if you were living alone and completing those tasks alone. That's the cost of collaboration. So in a partnership, your gross labor output shouldn't be 100% or less, and it shouldn't be much more than 125%. The relational audit will help you figure out if you're spending too much or too little joint energy on completing the tasks necessary to operate your household. The audit evaluates your workload across 4 distinct tiers. First is the deflated system. That's the 0 to 95% output. Now this is a low volume and it may seem efficient, but it should make you nervous. And that's because it means that essential tasks aren't getting done. The next tier is the solo baseline, 96 to 110%. The solo baseline usually relies on one isolated solo manager who's carrying the entire mental load of the household task or tasks. Efficient, sure, I suppose it is, but the risk of burnout and resentment is really high. The third tier is the collaborative sweet spot, 111 to 125%. And this is where both partners truly share the responsibilities of the household. It's also one of the most resilient structures, or probably the most resilient structure. But because the volume exceeds 100%, it requires a lot of expressed gratitude. When you express appreciation for your partner's efforts, it protects the partnership from burnout and it protects it from resentment. Finally, there's the systemic overload. That's 126 or more in your coordination tax or output. What it really suggests is that your partnership is falling into a double counting trap. So that's where energy is being wasted on things like corrective gatekeeping and redoing each other's work. When you start recognizing and regulating the coordination tax, you start optimizing your household's capacity. Click the link below to take the relational audit, check out your gross labor output, and find out exactly what tier you're living in.